This episode opens so many questions. Questions like, huh? Really? What? Who? Why? Are you serious? Is this a prank episode? What the duck? Hello friends and haters, and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about the stories from the rich Star Trek universe. I have just finished watching episode 11 from the third season. It was called Sukal, and these are my honest opinions about it. First of all, I have an important message. The word Shukal in Slovak language, mainly slang, means he had sex. Why did I open with this? Because it's more entertaining than this headache-inducing episode. During the first half of the episode, I had to pause and rewind the episode so often that my brain basically gave up during the second half. During the first half, I was desperately trying to make sense of anything I was watching, then I gave up and I just enjoyed the atmospheric visuals. This episode looks very nice. It has a nice atmosphere. It would maybe even be scary if I understood what's going on. There is a part of my brain which still thinks that things in science fiction must make sense, but nope. Maybe some of you have seen a clip of the creators of South Park explaining how to write good scripts. Long story short, the structure of a bad script is A happens, then B happens, and after that C happens. However, the structure of a good script is A happens, that's the reason why B happens, and that starts the events in C. And this is definitely a bad script. We start at the memorial party for Empress Jojo, the same one we have seen in the end of the previous episode. Why? I think I will use the word why very often today. Why did they split the scene between two episodes? Oh, and Adira starts to see her dead boyfriend again. Why? Because he was afraid or something, and Stamets, who I assume is her friend, because they talk together in every scene, pretends that this is normal. The person who messes with your engines admits to see a dead person and even talks to him, and you pretend it's normal and don't send her to your doctor, boyfriend or husband or whatever your relationship is? Why? Also, we are in the third season. Why do I still have to ask what is the relationship between Stamets and the doctor? Stamets also suddenly finds out that the Kelpian ship in the nebula has a life sign on it. Oh yes, that's still a part of the plot, isn't it? Tilly is wondering how the female doctor they have seen is still alive after more than a century in the nebula, and that's kind of a stupid question. Why would you assume something so stupid? In the house on the other side of the street where I live, a very old lady lived for many years. She later died and her house was abandoned for a few months, when I suddenly one evening noticed the lights in the house are on. You know what I thought? Oh, I guess they finally sold the house to somebody. You know what I didn't think? What didn't cross my mind? Oh, did the old woman come back alive and returned home? Or is Tilly drunk? But then Saru says something even dumber. He says that it's not her, but her son. Because he knew based on the video message that she was pregnant. Somehow. Why didn't he tell it to nobody? Also, why do you think it's her child? It's been more than 100 years. Kelpians don't live that long. Why don't you think it's her great-grandchild or something? Wouldn't it be more logical to assume the woman had more children and they had a nice Game of Thrones style sibling relationships and ended up having kids themselves? Anyway, Book goes to a side mission which is kind of pointless to the overall story because he comes back and the episode never mentions it again, so I'm not going to waste my time on it. The result of his mission is basically the information that the ship orbits a planet made of dilithium. Why does such a planet exist? Do the writers know what dilithium actually is? So Saru, Michael, and Dr. Hugh plan to beam to the ship. Stamets and Dr. Hugh start to argue in front of all colleagues. Why? Do you know the word privacy? Saru gives command to Tilly. Why? She's not even qualified for the position of the first officer. Why are you making her a captain? Now, from this point, the story splits into two storylines. Both of them could be described as kind of interesting, but not really. Let's first talk very briefly about what happens to the Discovery. The Green Lady Osira arrives and wants both the dilithium planet and the sport drive. Tilly jumps away until they fix their shields, but of course Osira follows them. I will return to this plot in the end. The slightly more interesting plotline follows Saru, Doctor, and Michael. When they beam to the ship, they find out that they are inside a huge holographic projection. The funny thing is, which I have to admit I don't understand why, is that they are transformed to another species. Michael is now a Trill, Doctor is now a Bajoran, and Saru is now a human. I honestly don't understand why it happens, and to be honest, I think that the only reason is that Doug Jones asked if he could be without his makeup for at least one episode. They probably think they have explained it in the story, but no, their so-called explanation makes no real sense. The more you think about it, the less sense it makes, actually. They meet different holograms, all of them are running to teach the child. No, not Baby Yoda or Baby Grogu, but a Kelpian child. A Kelpian child which is over 100 years old. I think it's not properly explained why is the boy over 100 years old, because I was under the impression that Kelpians die very young. If they explained it, I missed it, and I don't plan to rewatch the episode anytime soon, sorry. They soon meet the child. It's a boy whose name is Sukal, which is not really a name, but more like a title, which means something like beloved gift, and it's usually given to a child which is born after some catastrophe. The boy panics after they tell him that they're from the outside and runs away, plus his fear unleashes a monster. To say something positive about this episode, I absolutely love this storyline. It makes no sense, but it looks great, and overall it has a great atmosphere. It feels like I'm watching a classic black and white horror at times. But of course I can't be only positive, because this plotline unfortunately also features something what might be the dumbest thing ever in any real Star Trek or Kurtzman track. The kid has special powers because his cells mutated in utero because of the radiation or some other nonsensical pseudo-scientific pseudo-explanation. So he got angry one day, and that's why he used his superpowers and he destroyed all dilithium in the galaxy. Yes, he is now a comic book supervillain. Such a build-up, such a letdown. What else is there to say? I honestly can't remember the rest, and I've seen it a few minutes ago. The revelation immediately killed any interest I had in the story up until this point. Michael beams on Book's ship, which is there but leaves the men behind on the Kelpian ship and promises to return for them. Now, I don't really care. Meanwhile, Tilly, who is absolutely incompetent to be a captain, was given the role of the acting captain, and as expected, she fails miserably. Osira boards the ship and takes everybody hostage, and we have a happy ending. Oh wait, this should be a sad ending. Good things about this episode. It was shot beautifully. I checked who was the director. Some Norma Bailey. I have no clue who it is, but I hope they give her more episodes in the future. Everything other than the script is pretty good. The directing, the cinematography, the editing, the effects, the acting. Oh, I almost forgot. Sonequa Martin Green was perfect when she played a motherly role for the child. It was like she stopped acting tough and started acting natural. It was a pleasure to watch. I know that soon after they stopped post-production on the third season, she gave birth to her first child, so I assume she already was pregnant when they were shooting this, which probably helped her performance. But I think that in this one scene, she gave the best performance so far. But the problem is the script. This is a very badly written episode, which doesn't surprise me at all. I really miss the days when Star Trek scripts were checked by scientific advisors who threw out scientific nonsense and were rewritten by highly competent writers. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 4 out of 10. In other words, it's pretty to look at, but it's slightly dumber than an average Star Trek Discovery episode. But as always, those were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode down in the comment section, and see you all hopefully on Monday. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye.